Hi, I'm Dustin with the Garden Barn in Vernon, Connecticut. Today we're going to talk about how to replant some houseplants. This is usable year-round, but the best time to do it is going to be in spring or summer when your plants are actively growing. So your first step is you want to water your plants in nice. I've done that with most of the plants that we're going to use today. Repot fast-growing plants about yearly. So things such as the pothos and philodendron will definitely need yearly repotting. Something such as the ZZ plant, you may only need to repot every 2 to 3 years because it's a much slower growing plant. So there's many reasons for repotting, such as roots coming out at the bottom of the pot, such as this plant here. There's also slowed growth, often caused by circling roots in the plant, such as this plant here. You can see all of those roots have hit the sides of the pot and are starting to encircle, which will eventually kill the plant if it's not repotted. Other reasons would be for white crust buildup on the top of the soil, which occurs from when you fertilize your plants. That you can remove some of the topsoil and replace it with fresh soil when you're repotting. Other reasons to repot are because of insect or disease. Finally, plants that dry out quickly are another candidate for repotting. Something that does not need repotting, such as this plant here, that has excellent room for the roots, yet the roots have filled the root zone so the soil stays together when we pull it out of the pot. Your first step in repotting, after identifying which plants need to be repotted, is selecting a proper pot size. This plant here is our candidate. And these two pots here are our options we have. This first one here is much too large because it's more than 1 to 2 inches larger than the current pot and would take a very long time for the roots to fill that area, adversely not allowing your plant to grow. This pot here is a more adequate candidate because it's slightly larger, both in width and height, allowing your plant to fill out its root zone and put out new leafy growth. Alright, so when selecting a pot, you have many options. You have terracotta, which has many pros for the fact that it's less likely to tip over because of its weight when you do plant it, as well as it helps reduce waterlog. If you overwater your plants, the porous material in the terracotta will suck out the water, allowing the soil to dry out some. You do, though, have to water more frequently when you use terracotta, and you should soak it overnight before repotting into it. Plastic is another option that you can go with for repotting. This has the advantage of being light and easy to move around your home. Some other options would include ceramic. It's got a decorative look to it and is also heavy like the terracotta, so then that way your plants do not tip over. It is important to ensure that you have a tray underneath that planter to help collect water so you don't damage your furniture. So after watering your plant, about 10 minutes later, lift it up and dump out excess water from the tray. If you're going to reuse a pot, such as this one here, you would want to clean it prior to use. Use a 10% bleach solution to help sanitize that. That'll reduce insect and disease from affecting your newly planted houseplant. Now on to repotting. I've already selected a few pots for the plants that we're going to repot today. When you're removing it, if your pots are, or your roots are just lightly moving around the pot, just loosen them gently, so then that way they're no longer circling the pot. That'll be adequate for this plant. With something that's a little more root bound, such as this one here, take a knife and carefully slice the roots a few times, so then that way they do not continue circling. It is okay to slice some of the roots, but do not go too aggressive on that. When filling your pot with soil, do not put rocks in the bottom of it. This does not help increase drainage. This just reduces the root zone and makes it actually harder for the soil to drain. Instead, what you'd want to do is use either a paper towel to cover up something like a single hole in the bottom of a pot, like this terracotta pot, or using a coffee filter in something that has more holes in it to cover up the bottom. This will prevent the soil from coming out in the first couple of weeks before the roots fill the soil, and it will also degrade over time, so then that way the water is not obstructed from leaving the pot. To get started, we'll fill the pot with a little bit of soil, and then we'll place the pot or the plant into the pot, and I will continue to fill around the plant, leaving about an inch from the lip of the pot, so then that way you can properly water the plant. I will go ahead and do that now. As you saw when I was repotting this, I lightly used my fingers to push in the soil. You don't want to firmly compact it because that will not allow your plant to grow in there, because it'll be too compacted for the roots to break through. You want to just lightly place it in there with your fingers and firm it so the plant stays in place. When you water it, it'll help firm up the soil, so then that way everything stays in place. You'll notice I also used potting soil when I replanted that. Potting soil is important because it's specially designed for pots. You do not want to use soil from your garden. Soil from your garden often carries pathogens and insects and will hold on to too much moisture in a container for your plant and end up rotting it out. When you do have your completed plant in there, make sure to fertilize it during the growing season, either weekly with Miracle-Gro or every 6 months with Osmocote. That's what we do here at the Garden Barn to help our plants growing continuously and putting out beautiful flowers, such as this Spathiphyllum. Once you have completed your repotting, you want to be sure to water them in well, so then that way the soil settles and your plant has adequate water to continue to grow. So I will do that now. Terrariums are a popular trend nowadays, and when repotting those, they often do not have holes in the bottom for drainage. In those containers, it is advised to put some stones at the bottom of the container, such as I've done with this container here. That'd be the only reason you would want to use stones at the bottom of your container. That's how we do repotting here at the Garden Barn. If you have any questions, be sure to stop in at 228 West Street, give us a call at 860-872-7291, or log on to our website, gardenbarn.com, where you can ask many questions of our experts and find great resources on all plant-related things. Thank you and enjoy your day.